Hello everyone. As some of you probably know by now, I really like all things horror. My first few years on the internet I spent on reading creepypastas and watching stuff like ghost photo slideshows with the X-Files music in the background, and also GTA San Andreas myth videos. I even made 2 videos dedicated to creepypastas on this channel. I have a strong interest in the paranormal, even though I personally do not believe in any of these things. I am always very skeptical. But I do like to suspend my disbelief every now and then, just for fun. For like a year now I had this idea of compiling scary stories told by Visual Kei musicians into a video, but I didn't think something like this would be possible. I thought there won't be enough material to work with, but I was wrong. I managed to collect a few stories, not a lot, but enough. Most of them came from interviews. I will be reading them almost exactly as told by the musicians themselves. They are mechanical translations, and I edited them just a little bit to improve the flow and integrate commentaries from the people conducting the interviews into the narrative. Links to all my sources are in the description. You might be familiar with a few of them, as I did mention them in some of my videos before. And by the way, while researching, I found this YouTube video by VS Atelier, The Unexplained Paranormal Folklore of Visual Kei. It analyzes the connections between Visual Kei and traditional Japanese paranormal mythology. It even discusses one of the stories which I'll read in a moment through this folkloristic lens. So if my video leaves you hungry for more supernatural themed VK content, you can check out VS Atelier. Anyways, I've been talking for a long time now. Thank you to my patrons: Mumble Honey, Remilia, Big Body Igor, Canary Casey, The Insomniac Slayer, Dali, Lemon Piglet, Hattie Soup, and Damian Trevor Vincent. And let's get into the video. I am rather skeptical about paranormal phenomena. I don't completely believe in them, but I've had several experiences that I can't explain. I also hear similar stories from people around me. For example, Pierrot has long been famous for the rumor that when they perform at the Budokan, the ghost of a girl in a white dress appears. I heard from many people that a woman in a white dress ran on stage from left to right in front of the band members while they were performing. Apparently she only appeared at Budokan concerts. We couldn't see her at all though. There is a fountain on the Budokan grounds and she was apparently standing there. She didn't seem to have any effect on us, so maybe she just genuinely liked Pierrot and came to see the concert. Why it was limited to Budokan is a mystery. As an aside, at the time our fan club newsletter had a section where we featured photos submitted by fans. We received a photo of a ghost taken on the Budokan grounds. It showed something like a white goblin in the bushes. Something strange happened at the hospital where we filmed our 7th major single, Shinkei ga Wareru Atsui Yoru. The building itself was relatively new, but the nurse's station was sealed off and inaccessible. I peeked through a gap and saw medical records scattered all over the floor. If that were all, you'd think, did someone vandalize it? But the nurse call bell was beeping loudly, echoing through the messy room. It didn't stop ringing until we left. It was as if someone was calling from a patient's room. Something else strange happened at the abandoned hospital where we filmed the promotional video for Nonai Moruhine. It was an abandoned hospital in the suburbs of Tokyo, which was being rented out as a filming studio at the time. That place was really creepy. The hospital, now demolished, was 5 stories tall with a basement. However, when we visited for filming, the staircase leading to the 3rd floor was completely sealed off with something like planks. I wondered why, and then I found a gap large enough for one person to fit through. I peeked inside, but it was pitch black and I couldn't see anything. It was blocked off in a strange way, completely blocking out the light. I remember band members jokingly saying before filming, whoever loses at rock paper scissors will wander around inside with the video camera. A series of inexplicable troubles occurred during the subsequent promotional video shoot. The sound suddenly stopped and a nearby pane of glass suddenly shattered. I later found out that the floors above the third floor, which were closed off, were a psychiatric ward. It might have been a warning to stop messing around. Something strange happened when we used a rehearsal studio in Higashi-Urawa, Saitama, a long time ago. While we were practicing in the basement studio, one of the members said he heard a girl's voice. At the time we laughed it off, thinking it might just be our imagination, but later when I told the staff there, they said a girl's ghost appears only in the basement studio. Apparently there were many sightings from other band members as well. More than 20 years ago, when Pierrot was on tour in Osaka, we stayed at a certain hotel. It was a western-style hotel with a slightly old-fashioned interior. Back then we had something called night runs, where after a live performance the band members and staff would travel together to the next location in a large bus. That day we arrived in Osaka at 1 AM and checked straight into the hotel. The moment I entered the hotel, I sensed an eerie atmosphere. I had heard from the staff beforehand that it was supposed to be haunted, so maybe I was just imagining things because of the fear. It was a hotel with about 15 floors, and I was staying on the 8th floor, so I got on the elevator. Then I noticed that the button for the 13th floor was painted completely black and couldn't be pressed. Though puzzled, I went to my room without giving it much thought and spent the night without incident. But the next morning, one of the staff members came up to me with a pale face. That staff member was staying on the 12th floor and had been drinking and gone to sleep. Then he sensed something. He suddenly opened his eyes and saw a man standing in his room with a room service card. It's strange, isn't it? Normally hotel staff don't enter a guest's room without permission. But he was half asleep and drunk, so he said, "I didn't order anything," and went back to sleep. The next morning, the staff member went to the front desk to check. However, that hotel did not even offer room service. Apparently there was a rumor that there was a fire on the 13th floor a long time ago and several people died. Ghosts appear on the floors above and below. They say if you stay on the 12th floor, a person will pop out upside down from the ceiling. Since the hotel has now closed down, we don't know if there really was a fire. I was 7 years old when I first saw my life flashing in front of me. I started drowning in the ocean of Okinawa. Waves swallowed me whole, and no matter how much I struggled through suffocation, my feet wouldn't touch the ground, and I saw waves moving over my head with a frightening force. I kept being pulled further down into the water. My attempt at breathing only resulted in salty water filling my mouth. After I had swallowed as much water as I could, there suddenly was no more sound. A very gentle feeling and warm sensation came over me. I felt like I was being cradled by something. How can I explain this? I was enveloped in a sense of deep relief that I had never known before. It was immediately after that when my life started flashing in front of me. My memories since birth sequentially revolved in fine details in my head. This was a first-time experience. I tasted fear that I had never felt before. I am dying, that's what I thought. But I did not die. I became able to see many things. That day all boundaries were broken. After my eyes were opened until now, I became able to see completely things that before I could not see. I couldn't distinguish between people who were living and people who were not. It must have been bizarre to watch me when I talked to the people who were not living. My parents were of course surprised. "Who are you talking to? Uncle? Where is Uncle?" As they said that, they would laugh. Perhaps they laughed and ignored it, but didn't they ignore it because their hearts were afraid to face me? This began happening with more and more frequency, and I became thought of as very mentally strange. People talked about me and I became uncertain of the meaning of my existence. Because I could see both alive people and dead people, I didn't understand what life itself meant. This continued, and when I was 10 years old, I suddenly collapsed. I had a violent pain in my stomach and intestines, and I couldn't move. After I was taken to the hospital, I was told that the cause was unknown. They told me that while that was the case, I probably had some sort of infectious disease. So I was suddenly isolated. Isolated in confinement, thrown into a hospital ward that was more a prison. I think that they put me in the pediatric ward because I was so young. Children who were heavily ill, had infectious diseases or had terminal illnesses were in that ward. Being 10 years old, I thought all of them were in a cage and were likely to go down the corridor at any time. Down the corridor, in another sick ward, there were children who were probably going to die. I often knew when that would happen. Talking with those children, I would then feel that child is going to die tomorrow. Then next morning I would hear the nurse's feet go pattering down the hallway. Then I knew that one of my friends had died. Those were hard days. I couldn't stand it. Just when I made a friend, they would be dead the next day. And that was something only I knew. It was hell. Here's some important context before Mana's story. Kokkuri-san is basically a Japanese version of the Ouija board. They work in very similar ways. For Kokkuri-san, you write Japanese characters on a sheet of paper, along with Hai, meaning yes, and Ie, meaning no, numbers from 0 to 9, and a Tori gate, which symbolizes the transition from our mundane human world to the sacred spiritual realm. Then you and your friends, you cannot play this by yourself by the way, you and your friends open a nearby window, take a coin and put your fingers on it, and then one of you says something like, "Kokkuri-san, Kokkuri-san, please come to us, if you are here please move the coin to yes." And then Kokkuri-san is supposed to move the coin to yes. So when you have established contact, you can ask Kokkuri-san questions, and the coin will move to specific characters to form the answers. You know how the Ouija board works. After you are done playing with Kokkuri-san, you must burn the sheet of paper you used, use up all the ink in the pen you used to draw on the paper, and spend the coin you used. Anyway, here's Mana's story finally. I was really into the occult when I was in elementary school. I didn't see spirits or anything, but I think I was in the first year of junior high school when Kokkuri-san was popular. One day I was watching some kids playing Kokkuri-san, and it caused quite a commotion. Kokkuri-san wouldn't go away. Everyone was terrified. We gathered at a friend's house and had a meeting. A meeting about what to do because it was getting dangerous. We all agreed that going to a church would be a good idea, so we went to a church and explained the situation to a priest, who lifted the Kokkuri-san curse. Looking back now, I realize how childish we were, but at the time we were genuinely scared and everyone was terrified. Once I sat in a room with my friends and we were talking about the ghost story. Suddenly, something like a poltergeist phenomenon occurred. Everything in the room began to shake and the curtains billowed as if there was a strong wind blowing. However, it wasn't windy at all. In that moment I was so scared that I couldn't even look straight. I am a bit of an empathetic person. A long time ago I would often go to this spiritual spot and I felt something there. A spiritual spot is, for example, a hospital which had been closed down. When I was 18, my friends and I had a lot of strange experiences. I think their sense of the spirit world started to affect me. You know, when you're always with someone you tend to start imitating their gestures and way of speaking. Well, it's the same with spirituality. And I was always with my friends who had a strong spirituality to them, so I think I started to develop it myself. A photo shooting of course wouldn't reflect anything, but just one of my private photos would. It wouldn't have to be a picture of a person either, it could be light, white smoke, anything. Before alive at the Nippon Budokan, my grandmother died. When I was really sick and had to go to the hospital, I heard her voice in my dreams. Don't come here yet, it's too early for you. I've had a lot of such experiences. Right when we got to the Nippon Budokan, I had a dream with my dog I have at home. At first he was happy to see me, running around and barking, but suddenly his face became sad as he walked around, and just like that he stopped moving. I woke up and couldn't stop crying. Something may have happened, I thought, and called home. I found that my grandmother had just died. The dead watch over us. Even now, every day, I say thank you to my grandmother's photograph. The following story is not from the musician himself, but from an anonymous imageboard user. I remember a scary story about a living spirit told by the vocalist of the band Lucifer on the old TV show Gokigenyo. It happened while he was leading his band on a nationwide tour. As he sat down on the bed in a hotel room during the tour, something suddenly grabbed his ankle from under the bed. He jumped up in surprise, but the hand wouldn't let go. Then the hand that reached out from under the bed not only grabbed his foot, but apparently started trying to drag him under the bed. He desperately held on, thinking that if he fell in this position it would be the end, and apparently he was playing tug of war with the hand that reached out from under the bed for a while. During the tug of war he adjusted his position. When he finally pulled his foot back as far as he could, the vocalist of another band with whom he had performed on certain music program suddenly appeared from under the bed and then vanished. The jealousy that vocalist felt towards Lucifer's vocalist might have resonated with something like his psychic abilities, causing him to appear as a vengeful spirit. The name of the person who appeared from under the bed was withheld on the broadcast, but apparently he had about the same level of success as Lucifer at the time, and had the kind of aura that suggested he could easily send out a vengeful spirit. I think I might have seen a ghost for the first time in my life. I was walking late at night when I saw an old lady standing there blankly, and when I left the convenience store she was gone. I asked my friend, "What was that old lady just now?" And he said, "Huh? Was she there?" And here we have Natsuhiko's own rendition of the old lady. Okay, this one's a little bit not serious. Do you wanna hear my own personal spooky story? No? Well, I'm gonna tell it anyway, you're welcome. I experienced something very weird a few weeks ago. I have never had sleep paralysis, which makes this whole thing even weirder. I have pretty bad insomnia, and I break out of sleep a few times during the night. That night, I remember I had a bit of a scary dream, and I woke up at almost 3 AM. I heard that someone is walking through the hallway outside my room. In that moment, I just assumed it's probably just my mom, so I didn't think much of it. But then I heard that person stop right outside my door. Whoever it was approached my door and stopped right in front of it. So that was a little bit unusual. What would my mom want from me at this hour? But anyway, once that person approached my door, everything became really quiet. I did not move throughout this whole thing, but I don't think it was a sleep paralysis, because as far as I know, during a sleep paralysis, you are aware that your body can't move. You want to move, but you can't. For me it was different. I consciously chose to remain in the same position that I woke up in. That was a conscious decision on my part, because whenever I woke up very late into the night, I tried not to move, just to fall asleep as fast as possible. So I'm really not sure if this could have been a sleep paralysis. And just a few seconds after the footsteps in the hallways quieted down, I heard a woman's voice saying something right next to me. It was so close, as if she whispered something right into my ear. I do not know what she said. It was just like a single syllable, like s, something like this, just a very loud s right into my ear. And it made me jump, and I let out a quiet scream like, what? Oh my god. It was like a middle ground between a scream and a whisper. I swear I've never been this scared in my entire life. Never in my life had I involuntarily screamed out a few words. That's another reason why I don't think it was a sleep paralysis. If that really was the case, then I would probably try to move, but would be unable to. But here I jolted up and said something aloud. I was so scared that I had to post about this experience on my Twitter to calm myself down a little bit. Because when I was laying there in the dark, every little sound I heard terrified me. So anyway, yeah, that's my story. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my selection of spooky stories. I'm really curious, do you know any other stories like these told by visual kei musicians? I really struggled and I wasn't able to find anything more than what I already have. I'm not gonna do an outro as long as the intro. Again, thank you to my patrons: Mumble Honey, Remilia, Big Body Igor, Canary Casey, The Insomniac Slayer, Dali, Lemon Piglet, Hattie Soup, and Damian Trevor Vincent. Thank you all for watching, and goodbye.